Welcome to One-on-One with Walt Laskos. In this brief podcast, you'll learn how to most effectively address senior financial exploitation. Now, here's Walt.
Greetings, everyone. Today we're going to talk about all the tools and resources that are available to older adults and their family members as well in the fight against scams and fraud. And there's no better resource in my mind than AARP. Joining me is Kara Cohen. Kara is the Manager of Community Outreach and Volunteer Engagement at AARP Massachusetts. Kara, what is the mission of AARP, and what do folks have to do to take advantage of all of its services?
Well, hi, Walter. Thanks for having me on. The mission of AARP is to keep a deep focus on issues of health, financial security, and personal fulfillment of people, especially 50 and over, but also their family members. And so today, of course, we'll focus more on the financial security aspect as we talk about fraud and scams. But all three topics, health, financial security, and personal fulfillment, hopefully you'll find that reflected in our offerings and resources and in our advocacy. And people can avail themselves of our resources, whether they are a member or not. There's a plethora of resources online that we'll talk about in a little bit, particularly focused on stopping scams and shutting down fraud. You'll also find us focusing on preserving and protecting Social Security and Medicare, on bringing down prescription drug costs. But particularly today, we'll talk about the AARP Fraud Watch Network, which is available to everyone across the country.
Kara, tell us more. What are some of those resources that AARP provides?
So we have educational resources, including webinars. In particular, I want to point people to the Fraud Talk Tuesdays that we have on the second Tuesday of each month. Coming up on June 11th, for example, we have cryptocurrency scams, where we'll talk for half an hour about that. And then on July 9th, we'll have travel scams. If you miss these, you can go to our YouTube page, the AARP Massachusetts YouTube page, and find all of our past events. All the recordings are available in perpetuity for you to listen to there. For example, we had a teletown hall with the Office of the Attorney General just a couple of months ago, and we interviewed Mary Freely from the Elder Justice Unit, and you can find that teletown hall recording at our YouTube page. We focus all year long and through our Fraud Watch Network on grandparent scams, romance scams, Social Security scams, and also gift card scams. And we're really trying to make sure that people understand that scammers are the criminals, and they should be portrayed as such. And we're trying to really remove the stigma attached to a person who is scammed. So the criminal is who we should be focusing on. The scammer is the con artist. And fraud victims frequently express feelings of shame or self-blame, and family and friends and others can make this worse by blaming them and making them out to be the victim. And we want to stop that and really focus on the scammers, the criminals, and making sure that the criminal justice system goes after them as much as possible. So at the AARP Fraud Watch Helpline, you can report a scam if you think you've been a victim of a scam, and you can call that hotline. That helpline is 877-908-3360.
There's so many tools that AARP offers, and it really, they are there for consumers, for older adults, for family members to take advantage of. But, you know, with AARP, it's providing the tools and resources, but also the advocacy efforts, I understand. That there's a lot of work that AARP does with lawmakers to try and get laws passed or changed or revised to help protect older adults as they age. Is that true?
That is true, yes. Most especially lately, we've been focusing on prescription drug costs for certain. And as we are in an election year, up until November, our focus is going to be on protecting caregivers and making sure that elected leaders and people who want to be elected to office focus on caregivers and Social Security, those being our two primary issues this year that we're focusing on from a policy, legislative point of view, and wanting to support caregivers and the costs that they incur for caregiving and providing care to their loved ones, but also keeping down prescription drug costs and also protecting Medicare.
All important subjects, particularly for folks who are older, like myself, yours truly. I admit it. I'm certainly within that class of age. Kara, as you look at AARP and a lot of the conversations that you have with older adults, are you finding that when it comes to financial scams and fraud, that the trends are like getting worse?
Unfortunately, identity theft is still high and still rampant. So as much as you and I and so many other organizations talk about this, there are still people that need to be inoculated against scammers. There are still people who don't know about the grandparent scams. They really do think that it's their grandson or granddaughter calling who needs money sent to them. And, more and more we have banking institutions that are being trained to be able to detect when somebody might be under the ether and under the pressure that comes from scammers when they're about to take some money out of their bank to pay for something they think is valid and legitimate. So we have a lot of work to do still. There's the perennial romance scams as well, where more and more people are feeling lonely and needing connection, and scammers know this, and so they take advantage and try to portray themselves as someone who is interested in a love relationship, and also then ends up needing money sent to them to support them, and far too many people are falling for this and losing thousands of dollars. The Social Security scams, for example, calls come in from Social Security threatening people with being incarcerated or being fined, and none of this is legitimate. The Social Security Administration would never call you. They would absolutely reach out to you with a letter instead. And so we just need to continue to focus on this, because as much as we have great organizations doing this good work, there are still too many people losing hard-earned money to these hard-working scammers.
And don't we all know it? I've done a podcast before where I talked about communication. And we found that, and studies show that you have to hear a message like 7 times before it starts to sink in. So it's quite obvious, right, as you say, our work continues. We have to continue to talk about, and educate audiences about elder scams, or I should say scams and fraud that are directed and targeting an older adult audience. And the more we can do that, the more we could educate, the more that message will sink in and hopefully protect folks from losing thousands, and literally thousands of dollars. Kara, if there's someone out there that has a question or is looking for more information, what should they do?
Yes, please reach out to us in any of these ways. We are available by phone at 1-866-448-3621. That's for the AARP Massachusetts State Office. You can also email us at ma@aarp.org. And find us, of course, online at aarp.org/MA and on social media. And I just want to reinforce that if you feel like you've been the victim of a scam, you can call the AARP Fraud Watch helpline at 877-908-3360. And you can find so much information at our National Fraud Watch Helpline, Fraud Watch Network website, aarp.org/fraud.
Thank you, Kara, and thank you, AARP, for all the wonderful work that you do to protect older adults, to advocate on their behalf, and to really provide services to them that keeps them safe and sound. Again, thank you for joining us today, Kara.
Thanks for having me on.
And thank you for listening. Stay safe.
If you've enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow One-on-One with Walt Laskos wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to send comments to walt@laskoscommunications.com. And to learn more about how you might support the prevention of elder financial scams, visit laskoscommunications.com.